Photographing at golden hour is by far my favourite time to photograph. You get beautiful colours and that light can just really work when it comes to your photos. But that doesn't make it easy to photograph. In fact, I would say shooting at golden hour can be really challenging, especially if you are new to photography. So today, let me share with you 3 beginner mistakes I see a lot of people make and how you guys can avoid making them when it comes to editing your golden hour photos. And I'm gonna start right now. So the first mistake I see a lot of beginners make, and this is a mistake that I keep making to this day and I have to keep retroactively fixing my photos, is adding in too much contrast. The problem is with shooting at golden hour is there's lots of dynamic range to take into consideration. You've got really dark blacks and really bright whites. So it might be a struggle to find the balance between them and find the right exposure. So take this photo here as an example. It's a photo I've taken recently in central London. And at this moment in time, this has way too much contrast. The blacks are too rich and the whites are just too bright. And as you can see, there's almost no information in that section of the sky. So what can we do to fix this? Well, the main tip that I've got is focus or prioritize your highlights or shadows. Don't do both. Doing both means you've ended up with too much contrast. So I always say focus on one, have the one as the priority and one as the secondary. So let's go into my basics panel and see if we can fix this photo. So at the moment, you can see that I've got my contrast all the way up to 65, that's a little bit too high. I've got my highlights all the way down to 80, my shadows all the way up to 80, and my whites and blacks plus 20 and minus 20. These numbers together anyway are just a little bit too much. You probably can do it with 1 or 2 sliders, but not all of the sliders all at the same time. So let's bring back this photo all the way back to its 0 point. So this is what it actually looked like pretty much straight out of camera. So let's go ahead and prioritize one of them. In this particular photo, I am going to prioritize the shadows as most of the photo is quite dark. So what I'm gonna do is go to my exposure. I'm actually gonna bring it up just slightly. Then I'm going to go to my highlights and bring them down just a small amount. And with my whites here, I'm gonna bring them up. So I might go for around about minus 30. So that was minus 80 previously. I'm gonna go for around about minus 30 in this example. Instead of plus 20 for whites, I'm gonna go for plus 10. And then with the shadows here, because I'm prioritizing these, I can go for a more of an extreme number or a higher number than the highlights. So I'm gonna go all the way up and really bring up the brightness in those shadows there. So I might go for 65 in this example. And already I'm thinking it's actually looking a lot better. And with the blacks here, I might actually take those down a little bit by minus 10 there. So the biggest tip that I've got for when it comes to finding the right exposure, might add in a little bit of contrast as well, go for something like so, is prioritize. Make sure you're prioritizing the right. Now you can choose your priority. You can choose your highlights or choose your shadows, but make sure you're choosing one and not both. Otherwise, you'll end up with a photo with very strong contrast, and it might not look very appealing, especially after you've edited your photo. Now, the second beginner mistake I see a lot of beginners make is choosing the right white balance. Golden hour is famous for it being golden, beautiful golden colors from the sun. But some people might not have enough golden colors in it, meaning choosing a slightly cooler white balance, or they might go way too far and completely make everything golden, making your photo basically look unrealistic. So how can we get the right white balance in our photo? Well, here's a photo that I've taken again in central London, although this was a different day, and I would say the photo is very cool. The sun is behind, or just behind the shard, so we are getting these nice golden tones, but everything looks blue in the photo, and that's because I've actually got the wrong white balance in my camera. If I go in to zoom into the shadows, you can see how blue the shadows actually look, and it just doesn't look very nice. So what can we do to actually fix this? Well, there's a few things that we can do inside Lightroom. Inside the basics panel, you've got a few tools that we can change. Firstly, you've got your white balance selector. So if you've got something with a neutral tone in it, which we can try in a second, you can actually select that and find the right white balance. As well as on the right-hand side, you've got a custom button, or it might be named something else, and these are your white balance presets. So you've got as shot, so straight out of camera, auto, which obviously your Lightroom kind of works out roughly what the white balance should have been. Then you've got specific selections. You've got daylight, cloudy, shade, tungsten, fluorescent, and flash. Now, most of the time, the likelihood daylight or cloudy should work. And for sunset photos, I probably recommend cloudy as that works most of the time. It might not work for your photo, so you might want to adjust it accordingly. And you can by using the temperature and tint slider. Now, if you've got something grey in the photo, like for example, at the bottom here, I've kind of got this, I'm not even sure what you would call it, some kind of railing, but it's kind of this Art Deco railing here. You can actually use the white balance selector, select something with a neutral tone, which I know this was grey in real life. Go ahead and select, and you can see how well or how good of a job it's done. Originally it was 6500 Kelvin, but it's lowered it down to 6100 Kelvin. And immediately, this is looking a lot better. The shadows are still looking blue, but not as blue as previous. So there's a few ways you can get better white balance. And the biggest thing that I see a lot of beginners make is just not finding the right white balance for your golden hour photo. And the last mistake, and this mistake not only beginners make, but professionals make as well, is having too much clarity, too much sharpness in their golden hour photos. Now, golden hour is lovely because you have lovely soft light, and that light is just very nice to photograph in. It's why I love it. Problem is, if you go too much with the clarity slider and make your photo a little bit too sharp, it can make your photo a little bit too crisp. Now, this is a bit more opinionated, definitely, this is why I've left it last, but having the right amount of clarity in your photo is really important. You want to make your photo look nice and soft, especially if you're taking photos of people. You don't want nice, sharp skin tones, you want them to look nice and soft. So what we can do is open up the basics panel, and we want to ignore exposure for the moment. We want to go down to texture, clarity, and dehaze. And these are our biggest culprits. They're very powerful tools, so you want to make sure you're using them in a subtle way. So at the moment, we've got them all +10, +15, and +10. Now, texture, to be honest with you, I'll probably keep texture at +10. That works for most photos. Dehaze, now that affects a specific part of your photo. So again, I'd probably leave that alone for the moment. It's clarity, the one that we want to target. And actually for sunset photos, I recommend creating a negative clarity effect. Now you can do this two ways. You can do this globally using your main basics panel, or you can actually using masks instead. And I'll show you how you can do that in another photo. So what I'm gonna do is actually reduce the clarity down and actually might go for a negative number instead. So for example, I might drop this down all the way to -20. Now it's a very subtle change, but it can work really well, especially if you zoom into an area that's got a good amount of contrast. If you go to my clarity, if we increase it up, and if we lower that number, you can see that the lower number, in my opinion, looks a lot better, looks a little bit softer. Now we can do this actually locally as well. So what we'll do is go back to the very first photo. You can see if I go to my masks here, we've actually made a brighten mask. And what we've done inside that brighten mask, if I go to my effects, is we've actually reduced clarity. So if you don't want the overall photo to be softer, then do it locally instead. But actually, in most cases, just creating a negative clarity effect to your golden hour photos will make them look a little bit softer and a little bit more pleasing to look at. Thank you to all of my YouTube members that are currently supporting the channel. If you guys want to support the channel and get some awesome perks, including free Lightroom presets like the ones you can find on my website, and get to watch videos before they go live, and make sure to go ahead to the link in the description. I've been James for Photo Fever, and I'll catch you guys on Thursday.